Hey everyone, it's Jack from Atlantis Water Gardens. I'm here, part 3 of this 150-foot stream that's feeding this massive koi pond project in Frisco, Texas. When we left off, we were just starting the waterfall that's at the very headwaters of this stream system. So it's real important because, I mean, obviously you got to use multiple rocks for this waterfall. We want to try to find things that it's got the same kind of texture and the same lichen on it, so when it blends all together, it looks like one big rock formation. Because when that water's coming through there, you just want it to look like it's just in nature and beautiful. Well said, Alan. In 5 days, we managed to excavate and install 150 feet of beautiful twisting, turning streams and waterfalls. Now comes all the finished work associated with that. There's all kinds of edges that have to be done. We're talking 300 feet of edges. There's plumbing that has to happen here, lighting, and buttoning everything up where we can actually mulch and call this a day. And as we do that, I'm going to show you guys some things along the way, like our edge treatments and how we do plumbing. These are all the questions that we get quite often, and we'll hit the lighting as well.
Not the easiest way to do it, but one way or another, you gotta get gravel inside this thing. Otherwise, it's just way too light. And so I drilled out a hole for this light to sit in here. And that big 3-inch hole fits perfect for this light. More importantly, it allows me a way to get gravel inside this thing. So I'll get the gravel in here. Obviously, this elbow doesn't sit here. The elbow comes off. We've cut these things to sit almost flush with the top of this. Now, it's more of just a personal look. We're looking for these things to really show a lot of visible water up here on the top. If I cut it down here, this water would swell up a little bit more, giving you a little ripple on the top and letting that water come over here. I really want that water to be aggressive on the top. I'm not as concerned about how much comes over the side. So we get this up right up close to the top of this, and we've done that with every single one of these.
I've loved having these guys with me the last 5 or 6 days. Brian and I started last Saturday. We got a tremendous amount of work done. We're talking 150 feet of stream has been laid out. Like, we excavated it, lined it, set all the big rocks, and we've got the fountainscapes pretty much set up. So it's
four seams.
Yeah, 4 seams. We've gotten a tremendous amount of work done in a very short period of time. I got a whole nother team coming in next week, which I'm guessing is probably gonna be better than this one.
I doubt very much.
The last 10%, as like we always say, is probably the most important, right?
It is the most important. What sucks is the crew that's coming in gets the credit for it.
And they get to be here when we plug this thing in too.
I know.
Kind of BS, right?
I know.
I told you could fly back down.
Yeah, that's not like this, Alan. That's like.
I know.
It's not that. Not this.
He knows who to call to get me.
I got to tell you, I'm kind of bummed this morning because my 2 buds left, Alan and Brian, off on a plane back home. But I got a replacement of sorts.
Hey, were those other guys too good to cut some fabric? I mean, is this all I'm here for?
That's all you're here for. Got my good friend Ralph Bezad from Pondscapes AZ out of Arizona out here for the week, and we've got another mix of team coming out tomorrow. But today, what Ralph and I are going to focus on is starting to button this place up.
All right, guys, so what we're doing right here, we're going to have a cobble beach area. It's going to be a washout. So one thing that I mentioned was kind of having the liner laid over. We see this mistake a lot where the liner is just laid on top of the dirt. Let's say you want to plant a plant close to the pond's edge. Well, then you run a shovel right into this liner. That's no good. So what we're gonna do is we're going to cut a little trough right here, and then based on where that liner goes, we'll trim off some of that liner, tuck the liner into that trough, and then backfill that dirt. That way we've got a nice pinch and everything is safe. And then we'll take this river stone and wash it up and out, and that'll give that nice clean look on this edge for a washout.
Okay, let's talk about our stacked slate urn fountainscape. These just look amazing. These gigantic boulders tucked in and around these urns are gonna look fantastic. We'll be doing some more cobbling here to kind of give a wash effect amongst all these large rocks. Now, we've got to get water flowing out of the tops of each of the 3 of these urns. We got lights in the top of all of them, and now all of our plumbing is headed out the back here where we have to deal with it. We've got 3 2-inch lines that are coming from these urns. We've got to feed water to each of them and be able to control the flow. We want to get an even amount of water, so there'll be a column of water probably 6 inches high bubbling out the tops of these urns. In order to get that water up here, we ran a 3-inch flex PVC line all the way from our intake, which is at the far end of the pond. There's a pump that we put in specifically for this fountainscape, as well as our set of spheres at the front. Now, we shouldn't need to use all that water just to feed 3 urns. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a dump line in as well, which means any excess water that's not needed for that, we can just dump into the pool to feed the volume for the stream. And we've got a similar scenario over here with our spheres. Here's our feed line coming from the pump that's gonna be feeding this. Again, 5 to 9,000. And on the spheres themselves, we use the 1-inch flex PVC. We don't need nearly as much volume in the tops of these. It's not the same shape as the urn, so it doesn't require as much volume to make it look good. And then we'll be doing the same thing with the dump line, feeding the extra water into here, because there is actually a waterfall that exits this pool, goes into this area here, and then underneath where the future bridge is going. We've got to get from our 3-inch feed line down to 1-inch lines for these spheres. In order to do that, we're going to build what's called a manifold. We're going to be coming into a 3-inch fitting. This is called a T. We're going to feed that line in here, and then from there we can disperse it into multiple ports. So we can make a stack of these. We're going to actually make 4 of these. So now we're able to disperse that water coming in, feeding these different areas. This is going to be too big to feed those 1-inch lines, so what we've got to do is step it down in size. For that, we're going to be using something called a bushing, a reducer bushing. So this fits into the 3-inch pipe here, steps it down to 2-inch, and then we need another bushing to get down to 1-inch. So this is actually 2-inch, it'll go inside here. Now we've got a 1-inch slip fitting where we can glue into. Now that we're able to feed it down to 1-inch, we're gonna actually wanna control the flow. We're gonna use a ball valve for that. The way we attach this is we cut a small piece of PVC pipe. We're gonna glue it into this 1-inch end here, into the 1-inch end of the ball valve, and now we're connected. And we can open or close the valve inside there. That's gonna control our flow going to each of the spheres, and that's how we're gonna make sure that everything looks just perfect when it's finished. Now you can see what a completed manifold looks like. Our 3-inch feed line comes into the manifold, and then from there we're dispersing to 4 1-inch flex PVC lines. I align these with the way the spheres are set up inside this water feature. So this far outside one is going to go to our large sphere. The next one is going to the small sphere over there. Third one, medium sphere, and then we've got a 4th one which is actually going to be feeding a small waterfall coming off the front of that rock work. One of the things I wanted to point out about gluing, especially flexible PVC, is When you do your glue joint, you really need to hold that inside there for a good 20 seconds. If you don't, and you just glue it and stick it in, it can actually walk itself back out, especially with that flex PVC. So just make sure if you are gluing flex PVC, hold that pipe inside the joint for a good 20 seconds so it can set up. Yesterday we went through and finished this entire first stream section. We showed you guys every step of the way how we do our edging, the lighting, all that. The problem is we shot it on Ralph's camera and his microphone died, so we had zero sound. That's okay. Today we're gonna make up for it. We're gonna do our next section and we'll show you exactly how we do all the things that we did yesterday. Let's start here at this major waterfall. So when we're backfilling against the outside stones, we don't want to just bring the liner right up against the edge, because what can happen is if we have any water that gets around any of our rock work, if we're super tight here, it can back up and actually go up over the liner. So what we do to avoid that is we put in something called a chase. We're going to actually put in gravel in between the liner and the rock work that's on the outside of the waterfall section, and a lot of times we'll install a piece of pipe. So I'll cut this piece of pipe right about here. If any water makes its way past the rock that's going to be here and gets into here, it can hit the pipe and return back down into the lower section, which has the liner in it. It's pretty simple, but it keeps things from going wrong.
Like this.
So our pipe goes from our upper section of waterfall down into the gravel that's surrounding these lower rocks. I'm just going to put a layer of cobble right over the top of it, so if anything makes it past this rock over here, it'll hit this area, it can get inside the pipe, and can just return downstream, all staying within our liner. We'll bring this up to grade here. We're going to drop a boulder in outside this way, and then we can get all this pulled up and backfilled against the rocks, essentially completing the outside edge of the waterfall backfill.
All right, now what we're doing is we're continuing our washouts. Now we've got this this nice cobble wash area. Now, if we would have continued that from this rock over to this rock, when you stand from downstream looking up, it provides a real straight look. So what we want to do is kind of give some contour to the edge of the pond or the stream. Now what we've done is we've laid down some fabric and we're going to put in some dirt. This is going to be a terrestrial plant pocket. So water is going to come in here. It's going to seep in, wick into the dirt and keep it nice and moist. So you'll be able to plant some plants like some creeping jennies and some low ground cover type plants. So that will give the illusion that this is dry land and that stream is really cutting and turning and continuing downstream. Okay, so now this is all done. We've got this area all worked out. Our liner actually runs this line right here, but by doing that, it helps break up that straight line that we would have looked like we were having. All right, guys, so check out the lights. This is something that people have a lot of questions on, how the lights are run. So what we'd like to do is take the 3-inch pipe that is excess, we've cut that off, and we just make a cup. And on the back side of it, you can see there's a hole pushed in, and that is our 1/2-inch funny pipe running with the power line from the light through that funny pipe. And we've got it traced right through the rock, right over here to this junction. So here is what that looks like. Now, anytime a light needs to be replaced, all we have to do is pull the wire out and fish in the new wire, and the connections are all made in right here.
Hopefully you guys got lots of great tips and tricks about stream construction. I know this is a very large project, so this might not exactly equate to a smaller project that you might be working on, but the principles still apply. Doing the edges properly, making sure that you don't have problems down the road is key to a successful project. We've got a good portion of our stream section wrapped up. We're on to our whole bridge entry along with the headwaters of the waterfall. I want you guys to come back next video. We're gonna finish this thing completely. We'll show you how we're actually tying in the rest of the stream into the start of the waterfall, get this place buttoned up, and then we're gonna show you this magnificent 150-foot long stream, waterfall, fountainscape. It's gonna be amazing. Hit that subscribe button, come on back. Every week we are doing this thing. Hit up my buddy Ralph at Pondscapes AZ. Throw him a subscribe, he needs it. He's doing a great job over there. Of course, you got Alan at Decker's Pondscapes, Team Aquascape, Brian over there, always killing it. We'll see you guys on the next one.